Welcome, I'm Matt from Jaggers Brewing Co., and I'd like to thank you for joining us. Today's project, Ryerish Stout. So the Ryerish Stout that we brewed here for St. Patrick's Day, there's a whole story about this. But let's dive right into the numbers and get some of this stuff out of the way real quick, and then we'll talk about it. So we had a starting gravity of 1.055 and a finishing gravity of 1.016 for a total ABV of 5.12. So the recipe that we used was, we started out with the Stout water profile found at BeerSmith, and then we started with 70.8% Maris Otter, 16.7% Flaked Rye, and then 12.5% Roasted Barley. I went ahead and added 8 ounces of rice hulls in it from previous experiences, not only with just this beer, but brewing with a lot of rye, just to kind of help make sure that I was able to get the correct mash and scavenge all those sugars needed for this beer. For bittering, we ended up using 1.7 ounces of Northern Brewer at 60 minutes for a 43.1 IBU. We used a Whirlfloc tablet at 15-minute boil addition, and then yeast nutrient at 10-minute boil addition. And we pitched the Irish Ale Yeast White Labs 004. So the recipe is loosely based on Michael Dawson's Mashmaker's book. I played around a little bit with the recipe to be able to squeeze out a little bit more ABV and get a little bit more rye in there. And so every time though that I've brewed that recipe, I've always had something go wrong. While we discuss that, let's go ahead and pour this beer out of my recently fixed keezer here. I've got this beer on tap. I've been enjoying it, and let's take a look at it as it pours. I think I could have probably carved this up a little bit more, maybe put the serving pressure a little higher, but I think it's a beautiful beer. And go ahead and put it on beer can. We'll talk about it a little bit. So, as you can see, it's got a decently thin head. It's still there, looks kind of creamy and nice. Nice dark color. It's pretty clean and clear. Now, as far as this beer goes, every time that I've brewed it, I've ran into some issues. Now, these issues were getting it directly from Michael Dawson's recipe. The malt was hard to get, his base malt that he recommends. I got it, I was able to get some of it, I was able to get the exact hops and the yeast that he needed. My local homebrew store, they had everything there, or they had to order it in on their next batch. As far as the hops and the yeast went, I can't remember which one they had and then which one they had to order in. Or they already had an order going. So like the next year that I went to go brew it, I just went ahead and dropped the Irish Stout base malt that was recommended in the recipe. And I did that to make things a little easier to get. I believe I had to substitute the hops for the Northern Brewer that I used before here in this one. And I was able to snag that yeast And then this time that I went to go brew it, the yeast that was recommended in the recipe just wasn't available at that point in time. So I've been trying to make a point to brew this New Year's Day to be able to enjoy for St. Patrick's Day. And this year, unfortunately, the batch that I brewed for New Year's, after fermentation was complete, I waited a little bit, went on vacation, it was still in the fermenter. I came back and it had gotten an infection. So that really sucked. And what I ended up doing was just hurrying up and brewing it again. I went ahead and had some extra grains and yeast and stuff for this particular recipe because I wanted to play with it again a little bit later on in the year. But so it caught an infection, so I was like, well, crap, I need to hurry up and brew this for this video. So this video was supposed to come out for St. Patrick's Day. Unfortunately, happy belated St. Patrick's Day. But other than that, I mean, this thing came out pretty good. I've been drinking on it, and I couldn't be happier with it at this point. So on the nose, I get like that just kind of like rich, kind of creamy, not quite Guinness stout smell, but it's kind of there, you know. Kind of get a little bit of like the coffee notes there from the aroma. I don't think I really smell any of the hops in it. So as far as the mouthfeel goes, I think it's a very nice medium heavy area. You don't have to chew it or anything, but it's I feel like it fills that nice stout realm there. And then as far as the taste goes, man, this thing is really good. I really enjoy this one. Previously, the last batch that I used, or the last batch, last year's version, I ended up using the Imperial Darkness strain, and I mashed a little too high, so the ABV of that beer came in at like 3.5%, and so it was like a session stout. That was pretty good. I don't think that I would try to re-brew that again though, because there's just something about having you know, a nice full-bodied, you know, 5% stout that's delicious. So again, got some of the coffee taste. Definitely pull on the rye and the roastiness. This is really good. I really enjoy this beer. I kind of been looking forward to it every year. I might go ahead and re-brew this when it gets a little closer on the other side of the year, when winter is approaching and stuff. Go ahead and maybe have a keg of this ready to go into the teaser to get through, you know, December and January. But man, this is a really good beer. I recommend playing with the recipe, see what you can come up with as far as that goes. The Danny Boy yeast, I think, was the recommended yeast culture for this beer. That was a really good yeast to use. I wanted to attempt to use the darkness again on this grain bill, so that's why I ended up having those grains set aside for this year to kind of play with it, you know, during some off time when I wasn't necessarily trying to get together some stuff for a video. But that Irish Ale Yeast really sung to me after looking at what could I get together that would be easily attainable as far as the yeast go and the hops go. I don't think that I'll necessarily play with this particular recipe. I think I'm going to lock this one down and brew it maybe once or twice a year going forward. Like I said, there are a couple other yeast strains that I would like to play with on this particular deal, but this is for sure going to be one that I brew every year. And I can't say anything else about it really. I know I've kind of been rambling going on, but try this out. Tell me what you think. If you've got any suggestions as far as yeast strains to try on this particular beer, I'd be more than willing to listen and try them out later at a different time on a different video. Maybe we'll try to do some of those yeast comparison videos on something like this. I'm a year-round stout drinker. Now that the Keezer's fixed, I pretty much always plan to have one in the Keezer, so I think that'll be fun to be able to play around with and have available. So thanks for joining us. We really appreciate it, and we'll catch you on the next one. Bye.